SecKC. Let's hear it. Let's hear it for SecKC. That was terrible. Let's hear it for Bill. You guys like me? Yeah. All right. Yeah. Ooh. Now that makes me feel good. All right. So hey, I want to introduce our first speaker. But I have a little bit of a story. So I went to Dave Cochran right over here is going to be our first speaker, and I said, what do you want me to say when I introduce you? And he's a very humble man, didn't want me to do much. So what I did is I went on the internet. And I Googled Dave Cochran, Kansas City, so I could give, so I have a little bit of your background, sir, so I could give you, a good story. And what I found was a very heartwarming story. I found that we are in the presence of a celebrity. It turns out, in January 2019, a homeless man driving a car with just trash bags for windows was driving to the Chiefs game and found a car pulled over on the side, and there was a Chiefs player who was stuck, and Dave Cochran pulled that man out, not knowing that he was a Chiefs player, and sent him on his way. So, sir, I realize that's not you, but there is another Dave Cochran. And when I run into that man, I'll shake his hand.
I am Minnesotan. It's an easy mistake to make.
Anyway, I do want to give you a good proper introduction. So Dave Cochran here, he is. We were just talking earlier, and if you have kids that are into building robots on something, after the talk, come and meet him. He's a coach for the World's Lego League, and they made it all the way to the finals. In fact, I think they won. They brought home the trophy. I saw the championship. So anyway, with that, let's hear it for our first speaker of tonight, Dave Cochran.
Check. Yeah, he turned the mic off, which is just fantastic of him. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. All right, so this is My Users Can't InfoSec, and it's everybody else's fault but mine. A couple things before we begin. First off, font choice. I am intentionally using Comic Sans for two reasons. Reason number one, it is proven to be more legible to people with dyslexia and other similar learning disabilities. Reason number two, fuck you, it's my slides. This talk is not going to be very, very technical. It's not going to be super fun, super exciting. There's not going to be anything exploding, I hope. It's also not meant to be an indictment of any one person in the room or even any community in the room, so much as kind of a, hey, we could probably be doing this different and better, and maybe we should. Which is what this talk is. I'm getting ahead of myself. How y'all doing tonight? I'm not nervous, you're nervous. So without further ado, let's answer Johnny the tackling Alzheimer's patient. Who am I? Anytime you'd like to go forward. Yay, technology. You know what, we're just gonna do it this way. Or not. Why are you? Technical difficulties, 1 second. Yay, Patch Tuesday. You know, I swear to God, I did rehearse this. I'm just.
Gods are not with you today.
No, they very much are not.
Do it live!
Woo. I mean, I could, but it wouldn't be nearly as fun. Give me just a second, folks. Sorry about this.
Control-Alt-Delete.
And that's what I did.
Use a Mac.
No. Give me just a second or three here. See, this, folks, is why you want to use new technology and not the old shit. There we go. Give me just a moment to get this loaded back up, and we'll be on our way. I promise I can even start from the right slide. Yeah, like technology's always worked for all of you. Shut up. Go down to...
While he's working working on his IT issues. Let's see some hands. This is your first time at SecKC? Let me see some hands.
Oh, right here.
Oh, we got one right here. All right. Hey, why don't you yell when you got that going? Hello,
It's going.
sir. What's your name?
It's going.
Tyler, who brought you to SecKC? Make sure. I
No.
saw this slide already.
What's the worst that could...
So, you brought Tyler to SecKC. Good job, man. I'll buy you a drink. You too. All right, let's give this a shot. Oh, he brought him too. All right, well, hey, actually, Dave, I've got a little bit of a admission here. So if you guys don't know, we have here a little tradition, although I'm wondering if we should maybe get past that first slide before we give this thing tradition. Anyway, if it's your first time speaking at SecKC, you get a...
It's not a blowjob, right? He stole my line. All right, so I promised I'd start on the right slide, so maybe we should actually do that. So, answering Johnny the Tackling Alzheimer's patient, who is this guy anyway? I have an associate's degree in computer forensics. I have a bachelor's degree in computer forensics. I also have over a decade in retail, which, don't do that. Just don't. I am currently an interface engineer in a big healthcare IT company in the local area that is not in any way, shape, or form responsible for sponsoring or even in most cases aware of the fact that I am doing this tonight. I can neither confirm nor deny that, sir. All right, so the whole point of this talk is that we in information security are not really good at getting people to do the InfoSec things, and we can prove that by the fact that we had, how many slides was it with the news, like 5,000 or something like that? So, I'm not stepping back, you step back. So, there's a couple of reasons that this is a recurring, consistent problem that I have found with, a few Google searches and way too much time on Twitter. First off, logic is not nearly as intuitive for people as we want to think it is. For example, this is from August of 2017, July 2017. Then Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull of Australia was asking a bunch of companies for some backdoors in their cryptographic algorithms. And they said, we can't give you a backdoor and still have it be secure. It's mathematically impossible. It would be against the rules of mathematics. To which he replied, well, it's great and all, but in Australia, I'm not doing accents because you don't want to hear that, trust me. It's great and all, but in Australia, the only laws that apply are the laws of Australia. Because that's a thing. So there's that. And then there's the fact that people are really bad at computers. And there's a bunch of people in the audience right now, sysadmins and help desk folks, who are going, duh. But no, really, people are not good at computers. A couple examples here. This is presented without comment. The SecKC is a nonpartisan organization. The presenter's views do not necessarily, et cetera, but Donald Trump refuses to use a secure landline because he really likes the iPhone for his tiny hands. Cyber is hard. You are completely correct. Who here knows a guy named Deviant Olaf? All right, more people than that know Deviant. Come on.
I know Deviant.
Okay, there we go. So a couple weeks ago, months ago, whatever's ago, I forget when I made this slide, Deviant did this. Deviant went to send a sexy Snapchat picture to his wife, and he dropped it in the company Slack instead. He claims it wasn't too revealing. I believe he's still employed, so he's probably right. But I mean, if somebody like him, who's basically a red team celebrity, can still fuck this up, there's not really a lot of hope for the rest of us. So, here's the meat of the presentation. This is where if you're taking notes, you're going to want to get your highlighters, you're going to circle stuff, underline everything. This was a study done by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is a club of industrialized countries. They asked questions of 215,942 people in 33 countries between the years 2011 and 2015, with at least 5,000 people in each country. They graded people based on their responses to this test, which I'm going to get into the details in a second, on a scale of 3 to 0. Level 3 would be if you were able to complete the test they were given. You want to know what percentage of the emails sent by John Smith last month were about sustainability. If you could get that answer, you are in the top 5% of computer users in 33 countries. Okay?
Hell yeah!
Woo! All right, level 2 would be the task given. You want to find a sustainability-related document that was sent to you by John Smith in October last year. That's another 26%. Level 1, find email from John Smith. That's 29. I should point out, by the way, these are the OECD average scores that I'm showing right now. We'll do the US ones in a second. And then the sub 1 level is delete this email. And that's 14. Now I gotta be honest, I kind of lied. There is another level to the scale here. The people who just can't use a computer. Just straight up, I don't know how to use a computer. And yeah, that's another 26%. So on the global scale, 40% of people are at or below the level of computer user where delete this email is an achievable goal. People are not good at computers. I promised the US scores, here they are. We're a little bit better, arguably. We have fewer people who can't use computers at all. But if you notice, the top 2 categories are basically the same. I think there might be a percentage point or 2 difference, but by and large, they're pretty much the same. So I started thinking to myself, you know, I've got these 2 degrees, granted they're sequential, but I've got these 2 degrees in computer forensics. What kind of things do I have trouble with? What kind of things make me pause and go, wait a second, should I be doing this? I don't know. Advancing slides is really tough. You're very clever, have a cookie. So I came up with a bunch of things that don't actually help users, but that we think help users. For example, this. I can barely delete an email, but this is totally comprehensible to me.
Where's the OK button?
I tell you, but they throw me out. I'm pretty sure this screenshot's from Firefox, because that's about all I use. And it's just saying, you know, hey, the security certificate has expired. You can go forward if you want to, but we don't recommend it. And I said, okay, that's great, Firefox, but Firefox, you don't have the best track record with security certs and the keeping up to date thereof. Now that shot's going to your heads, not mine. But security certs in general are a personal peeve of mine because I suck at updating CAs, at getting the good certs and not using the bad ones. Every time I try and update the CA, it takes me like 3 or 4 tries. I usually fuck it up each time, and then I have to go either find like a 20-minute YouTube video and learn how to do it and still fuck it up once or twice, or get a friend to walk me through it. And I'm arguably in the target audience for this kind of thing. Admittedly, I don't do security stuff on a daily basis, but I am arguably still in that target audience. This should be the kind of thing that I am at least okay at. And I will grant, absolutely grant, that it should not be an easy thing to do, right? We don't want people going in and double clicking on something and all of a sudden they have all the security certs ever, because that way lies bad. But it could still be a lot easier to do, and nobody seems to be caring to take the time to make it easier for anyone at all. It was hard for me, why should it be easy for you? Fuck that attitude, man. Other things that don't help. This is a prominent InfoSec person who I will not name because I did not get their permission to use them as an example of the bad. I recognize that the topic of the tweet has fuck all to do with InfoSec, generally speaking, but if I am a user who has trouble deleting emails, which as previously established is at least 40% of the population, and I see this, and this person is in charge of security at my organization, I don't feel confident going to them and saying, I might have done a bad, can you help me? That seems like a really, really bad idea to me all of a sudden, because this person has clearly expressed that they don't really care to educate or to help or to teach, at least based on this one tweet. There are many more from the same person that display the opposite, but I might not have access to that. I might not have visibility to that. I might not know how to find those other tweets because I have trouble deleting email. All right, who remembers January 2018?
Like it was yesterday.
Like it was yesterday, says the guy in the corner. Thank you, guy in the corner. I appreciate the assistance. Something very, very fun, I say fun incredibly wrongly, happened on January 13th of 2018. A whole bunch of people got a text message, if you lived in Hawaii, that said, hey, North Korea just shot a bunch of nukes at you. Get to a shelter or you dead. It turned out to be a false alarm, but nobody knew that for a good few hours of terror and panic. Because, and here's why this happened, that's the interface that caused the alert to go off. Actually, I'm kind of lying. That's the new version of the interface. They added a link. The red link is what they actually clicked. The yellow link is what they should have clicked. And the green one at the top is the new one that they added so that this doesn't happen again. Raise your hand if you think that there was any sort of, are you sure you want to send a get the fuck out message to everybody in Hawaii right now button. Of course not. Oh, and there's another reason. Oh, by the way, HIEMA is the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, in case anyone cares. There's another reason that the panic went on for far longer than it needed to. The governor couldn't remember his Twitter password. There are opportunities everywhere, is the takeaway that I'm trying to get at. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning of this that I've got over a decade of retail experience, which I still don't recommend. But I mention that for a reason. This is the part where I'm self-deprecating. When I was working retail, one of the things that I did is I would sell electronic stuff to people who had no fucking clue how to use it. They would come in and they would say, I need the camera with the gigapixels. Can you be more specific? No! Okay, let's talk. I'm not gonna stand here and tell you that anyone that I sold a camera to has ever been featured in National Geographic's, annual best pictures of the whatever compendium, because that would be bullshit. And while I do tell a lot of bullshit, that's not something I'm willing to go to. But they did at least learn something. They walked out confident that they could turn the machine on and use it for its intended purpose, and maybe even do some neat other stuff with it or show off some features to their friends. Because I would talk to them. I actually got in trouble for talking to people too much because, no, you can't be sitting there talking to the customers. You have to make the sale and then go back to whatever you were doing. Talking to the customer is what I was doing. No, not that, the other thing. Again, don't work retail. It's not, but do maybe because it helps you learn how to talk to people, which I think we can all agree not all of us are the best at. I made it funny. So how do we get past this particular hurdle? How do we get people to listen to us and do what we want them to do? Well, first thing that I can think of is that we need to work on our messages. You don't want to use the same super in-depth technical explanation when, great Uncle Harry comes up to you at Thanksgiving and says, hey, so tell me about this here two-factor something that you would use with the person sitting next to you tonight, because great Uncle Harry doesn't know shit from shit. Similarly, I thought this was a really, really good quote, so I put it on the slide. Just gonna let you read that while I take a drink. You want to make sure that the people that you're giving a message to are getting a message that they can use. The C-suite is different from peers, is different from relatives, is different from your pet, is different from et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What else can we do? Well, better communication and better tools, which are both really easy to say, I completely acknowledge and own that, and not necessarily easy to do, but I mean, come on, security certs. But I mean, most of us probably aren't even trying when 40% of our users have trouble deleting an email. I'm going to keep hammering this point because it's a really, really good point to hammer. One thing that I've noticed personally is that a lot of us tend to think that good communication means precise communication. And that's not necessarily going to be the case all the time or even most of the time. Precise can be good, can be helpful, but a lot of the time it just gets people confused, especially if they are the kind of people that have trouble deleting emails. They don't care about the difference between SHA-256 and SHA-512, or SHA-128, or whatever else. They just want to know how to not get their shit fucked, which is a completely fair goal to have. So there's going to be some counter arguments, I can already tell. People are going to come up and they're going to say, okay, but how do I make them understand why we need them to do this? And I'm going to respond right now, in advance, have you tried talking to them? Have you tried listening to them? Because a lot of times the questions that we think we hear are not really the questions that people actually have. The best question, the best response to anything that someone comes up to me and asks me for information on that I can think of is, show me what you need. Because we've all had somebody who came up to us and said, the computer doesn't work. Okay, what do you mean by that? And it turns out that they were just having trouble getting to the right homepage. Or that their monitor was unplugged. Or that they couldn't print because printers are, the devil's handiwork. But if you gotta actually understand what they are asking before you can answer their question and help them progress. And if you can't delete an email, you might have trouble explaining what it is you mean quickly and concisely, and for all you know, the computer actually is broken. But you have to ask the right questions. Another counter argument people might bring up is, how do I get them to do what I say? Well, you could try talking to them. Again, people are willing, for the most part, to learn and to adapt and to use new skills, but it's a lot easier to get them to do that when you give them a reason to do that they can internalize. Because we said so is not a great reason. Who here has seen the Correct Horse Battery Staple XKCD? I know there's more people than that. I showed that to my mom last night because she was very, very proud of her 10-character uppercase, lowercase numbers and symbols password that she used for her website. And I had to tell her that doesn't necessarily make it secure. Here's the thing. She texted me this morning. She said, okay, you know what? I completely understand what you were saying. That was a very good explanation. You gotta meet people where they're at, not where you want them to be. You're not the quarterback lobbing the football to the receiver, you're handing it off to the runner. And then, of course, well, why should I do any of this? Why do I care? Because we're in information security for one of two reasons, possibly both. Reason number one, paycheck. Reason number two, because you want to help people. Ultimately, like maybe that's not like, I'm gonna go into work today and help people. But that's the reason that we went in there, a lot of us, is we want to make the user's experience better. We want to make people safer. We want to keep shit from getting owned. That's helping people. That's why we're in this. That's why you should care. So the key takeaway here, you are in fact at least a teeny bit at fault for the fact that your users can't InfoSec, but you can help them get better if you really, really want to. I mentioned earlier, I work for a major healthcare IT organization, local. And most of my clients, most of the people I talk to are doctors and nurses. I don't want my doctor to be an information security professional. I want my doctor to be a medical professional. When my doctor and nurse clients call me up and say, hey, this thing isn't working, what the hell? That's okay. It's good in my mind that they aren't 100% familiar with all these things and that they need help understanding them. And being doctors and nurses are probably not that dumb, probably. There are exceptions, but probably. But they're able to learn, they're able to adapt. But that shouldn't be their focus. That's our focus. That's why we have the jobs we do. And then, just the last bit here. I saw this the other night. I thought it was a great message. You can fight your peers or you can work with them, but it's easier when you work with them. I've been Dave Cochran. This has been my presentation. Y'all have a great night. I turned it off for you.